Hi, Pat the Podcast Editor here. What is the secret to producing a creative and engaging email newsletter people actually want to open? Well, today, founder of newsletter The Friday Club, Dan, and his brother Lloyd look to find out as they talk about tips anyone can implement to keep your newsletter from sinking to the bottom of the inbox.
MailChimp, which is the email marketing tool we use, say that the average email open rate for all industries is 21.33%. And with our Friday Club, we get, on average, between 30 to 50% open rate.
Wowza, that's above average.
You'll learn about everything from creating the eye-catching titles to lure people in, to sharing the stories that keep them there.
You have to deliver on the subject line. Some emails I've subscribed to are like, this thing that's going to make you £1 million in 3 seconds. It says something crazy and then doesn't deliver in the body of the email.
And then that's the
then
last time you'll ever open one of their emails because
Mm-hmm.
you think, it doesn't matter how good this is, I'm going to be disappointed.
Oh, and if you want to check out the Friday Club, we've got you covered. Just go to bit.ly/the-Friday-club to sign up now. We'll see you in your inbox. Right, let's get this one on the road. This is episode 68 of the Business Anchors podcast.
We're just a couple of business anchors. Welcome to the Business Anchors podcast. This jingle is slightly too long. This jingle is slightly too long.
What is an email newsletter and why is this an important episode for our lovely anchors to listen to? And also, is it more interesting than it sounds?
Yes.
Good.
I think, first of all, I hate the term email newsletter.
Sorry.
But we're calling it that because people understand it as an email newsletter.
Okay.
Traditionally, an email newsletter is where a company will send a weekly or monthly update to their subscribers to say, oh, here's what's happened in our company. Oh, Susan got promoted. And they're terrible in my mind. I think they don't really provide any value for people who subscribe. And 3 years ago, we wanted to flip the traditional email newsletter on its head. And we created the Friday Club.
Oh, and the Friday Club was born. I can relate to that terrible email newsletter that no one cares about because I think so many, and unfortunately, I've identified this in some of our previous clients. They come with this idea: we're going to do an email newsletter to tell everyone what we're doing.
Yeah,
and it's that thing of the perspective of. We're going to tell everyone what we want to tell everyone.
Yeah,
not
what they want.
What will they actually want to hear? Like, sorry, Sharon, but no one cares you've been promoted, if you know what I mean. Like, why would someone that signed up care about that?
Yeah.
So I am interested to hear more about this.
Yeah, and I think the reason this is more interesting than it sounds is a couple of things. So, firstly, email marketing is incredibly powerful. If you think about comparing it to social media marketing, there's no algorithms involved. I can email you directly and you're going to see it. 9 times out of 10, you're going to see it because there's no algorithm deciding if this gets sent to you like social media.
Will this get into your feed?
Yeah. And secondly, so it's hugely powerful to directly reach and engage your audience. Secondly, this is going to be interesting because we've sent over, I think we're now on episode 168. So we've sent over 168 weekly emails over the last 3 years and have learned a lot about what works and what doesn't. So in this episode, I'm really wanting to dissect that and give advice to the listeners to share what they can be doing with their email marketing and what we've learned.
Brilliant. So, can you break down some tips for listeners on what they need to know when it comes to email marketing, Dan?
I can.
Because I want actionable steps from you.
So let's break this down. So this is going to be really practical. So
break it down.
The first tip is to brand your email newsletter. Rather than calling it ABC Accounting's weekly newsletter.
That sounds boring.
That sounds
like I don't want to read it.
Exactly. Just like with our Friday Club, we've branded this as our weekly emails, the Friday Club, because every Friday I write and send this email. And in that email, it shares the best content we've consumed and created that week. It shares insights around what we're learning whilst growing our agency, stories, and that kind of thing. And we also give a free bottle of wine away to readers.
Wine is better than hearing about ABC accountants.
Exactly.
New hire.
Exactly.
Yeah. Cool.
And I think so. First of all, make sure you brand your newsletter. Make it sound like something interesting that people actually want to be part of. the Friday Club sounds pretty cool.
It's like that. It's that thing, a club that you're not in yet. It's like that thing of, what's that then? Why am I not allowed in the Friday Club?
Exactly. You wouldn't be bothered about not being in ABC Accounting's newsletter, would you?
No.
And we learnt this. This was actually a tip we learnt from Andrew and Pete, who are marketers we're friends with up in Newcastle. They run Atomic. They brand everything. Everything they do is they've got some really cool, funky name that makes it really memorable. So yeah, first tip, make sure you do that.
Will do.
Second tip, write intriguing subject lines. The first barrier to getting people to read your emails is getting them to open it. And the way you can get people to open it is through intriguing subject lines. So the subject line is like the title of the email. People get it in their inbox. That's the first thing they see. And that's what's going to convince them to open your email.
Can I reinforce this point? So even, you mentioned Andrew and Pete, so their email newsletter, their email newsletter that's not called that and called something different, and the Friday Club, I don't open all of them. Even for my own business. I should. I'm sorry, Dan.
That's all right.
But I open them based on how intriguing the
subject line
is. Sometimes I see that the Friday Clubs come through and I'm thinking, oh, what's that about then?
Yeah.
And I open it. So I think it really does have a massive
And I've got
effect.
a bit of a formula for this after sending all these emails, which I'm going to go into in a second. But just to give you context, so MailChimp, which is the email marketing tool we use, say that the average email open rate for all industries, they break it down specifically by industries, but for all industries is 21.33%. And with our Friday Club, we get on average between 30 to 50% open rate.
Wowza, that's above average.
Yes, we do. No, and it's pretty good.
That sounded like fake enthusiasm. Sorry, I was just trying to emphasize how much better that is.
Good. It is better.
Wowza.
And from sending those 168 or so emails, I've started to learn a bit of a formula that works.
Because just to be clear to the listeners, the Friday Club, it isn't one of our employees don't write this. Like,
I do.
Dan personally does this and
Every
has
Friday
done every
morning.
single week, except once I think he was on holiday and I did it.
Yeah. And no one opened that one.
No.
So just to give you, I also want to share some examples. So what I'm going to give you is some of our best, from 168 emails, our top performing email subject lines, to give you some examples. Then I'm going to break down why they worked. Okay. So first of all, this was our top performing subject line ever. Revealed how TikTok's algorithm works. That had a 56.9% open rate.
Really?
Yeah.
That's so something people want to know. And saying revealed, it sounds like it's
Another one. This is completely different, but there is pillars that make that show you why these all work. The next one. This is our second best performing subject line ever. Please tell me you aren't one of these. ...
Oh, you don't even know what it's about, but you don't want to be one of those,
Yeah.
and you want to find out and make sure you're not.
Yeah. Another one, our next best performing one. This is 47.1%. Reserve your Bebo username before someone steals it.
You're clever. You think someone,
Yeah.
you're making them think someone's going to take it, and you've got to take action right now and read that email.
Couple more, then we'll go into the breakdown. This is another one, our next best performing one. The one question that makes every marketer quiver.
Weird. That's cool. And I think this, in any industry, so for example, I get a newsletter from a golf club. And actually, I know one of our top listeners
Yeah.
works at a golf club and gets tips from us.
Is that Chubb?
Yeah. I'm thinking, imagine you send out things and you're saying October weekly newsletter, monthly newsletter, or you say the 3 top tips to get your score under 60 revealed.
Yeah.
Then all those old men are going, I want to know that. Yeah, that's what I want. That's literally my most important thing in my life.
Exactly. But I think a really important point as well is you have to deliver on the subject line when you get into the email. Some emails I've subscribed to are like, this thing that's going to make you £1 million in 3 seconds. That's an exaggerated version, but it says something crazy and then doesn't deliver in the body of the email.
And then that's the
then
last time you'll ever open one of their emails, because you think, it doesn't matter how good this is, I'm going to be disappointed.
So now I want to break down how to write a subject line that actually works from these examples and from the 168 emails I've mentioned. And there's really 3 pillars to it.
Okay.
And the first one is intrigue. So it teases something interesting. And from those examples, you can see that it teases something interesting that they're intrigued about and they want to find the answer to. It poses a question, like we said, revealed how TikTok's algorithm works. I want to know how it works. And I need to click on that to know how it works.
I'm intrigued.
You're intrigued. So that's the first point. It needs to be intriguing. Second, urgency. It needs to provide a sense of urgency, something that makes them know that they need to go on it now. Like the Bebo example, that headline was when Bebo basically announced they're launching again and you had to sign up to get your username you wanted.
Because I think, day to day, everyone knows you get a message, you get an email, whatever. If you don't open it when you first see it, I know certainly for me, there's always a chance you're not going to remember you've received that and you're not going to go back to it.
Yeah.
You see what I mean?
Yeah.
So knowing it's time sensitive and you
click on it
literally see it and think, I better open that now.
Yeah.
Otherwise, someone's going to nick my Bebo name.
Definitely. And the final point, which comes onto something you said, Lloyd, relevant and value adding. They're made for your audience, so they're relevant and they're providing something useful. Just like you said, if it's talking about Susan who's been promoted, that's not providing any value. So again, taking the Friday Club as an example, our audience is marketers. We want this to be hugely beneficial to marketers, this email. So everything we do is focused around why would marketers care about this? What do marketers care about? And it's highly relevant. And everything in there is really value adding. Yeah, so next time you write your subject lines, they need to be those 3 things. Intriguing, have a sense of urgency, and relevant and value adding.
Nice.
And they really work. The next tip I want to share is about sharing stories.
Get your tips out.
Get my tips out. So this is really important. And this is actually a lesson I learned from Janet Murray's emails. I don't know if anyone's subscribed to those, but they're really good. She always talks about stories that are happening in her business and throughout her career, and then shares a lesson to do with them.
She's a good storyteller, and she's good at linking it with something valuable, like you said, not just tell a story, but then... Yeah,
and even more, she's good at linking it with something that she's usually selling as well.
Yes. Yeah.
So she'll be like, she's got this course and she'll say, this week, this thing happened and this is the solution. And the course that I'm selling helps you do that. It's really clever when you think about...
You get to the end of it and think, shit, I was brought in by the story and now I've bought this thing.
And also, again, going back to the Friday Club example, every week... there's a section called Thought for the Day where I share something we've learned that week, like something's happened in the business. We've had this crazy thing go wrong and how we dealt with that, or something interesting that's happened. And as humans, we're drawn in by stories. So any time when you're writing your email, in the body of your email, to just include some kind of story to make it more interesting.
Yeah.
It's way more interesting to read, isn't it?
Yeah,
Then
definitely. I think that's quite a skill as well.
Yeah, I think
That's
it takes...
more challenging, the kind of storytelling element and linking it to...
But again, the more you do it, so for example, me, I've honed those storytelling skills by posting and writing all the captions for our content every day for 5, 6, 7 years.
Yeah.
Writing this email, the stories I was telling in the first few versions were probably pretty rubbish, whereas I've started to learn...
I suppose that's the thing, isn't it? Like... You've been doing it over a period of years now. Like everything that we advise, you don't need to be perfect the first time.
Yeah.
You just got to make these incremental improvements over time until and over time your open rate will go up.
It's going to increase and you'll learn.
The positive impact for the business will go up.
And I also think that the tone of voice that you write in. So I did something very early on, which was I wrote the emails how I would say them to a friend, rather than being... when we think of email newsletters, people think they have to be very formal and corporate and this is a business email. Whereas people don't like that. They want to read something as if it's being spoken, and even using slang and things like that.
But I suppose that's not appropriate for all industries and all examples. But I suppose the thinking, how would the reader like to be spoken to again, not just how you want to.
I actually think it is relevant in a way. I think even if you're in the most corporate environment ever, I still think you should be thinking, how can this be written in a way that sounds like a human's actually said it, rather than so corporate that...
The golf club example, though, I know that some people might be offended if you're not as formal.
Yeah.
So I think there are some examples, but like you're saying, if you're just thinking about how they want to be spoken to and being human, rather than just being this robotic.
Yeah, okay. I'll take that point.
Thank you.
Cool.
You've provided 90% of the value in this episode.
Good.
So there's my
Good.
little bit.
The next tip, this is really important, is give to your subscribers. The people that sign up for your inverted commas email newsletter, they've got so much crap going in their inbox that you really need to give them a good reason to open your emails. And the way you do that is by giving them stuff, as in like providing value. So a few ways you can do this. One, providing value in the sense of very relevant content that's highly valuable to them. Like in our email, we share the best marketing apps, tools, videos that we've discovered.
I suppose you could get lazy with that. You could, I haven't really got much good to this. I'll just send one out. And then it's like, people open that, don't get the value, and then next time they're not going to come back.
Another kind of clever thing that we've done is, and actually this is relevant to Business Anchors listeners. You should all be signing up to this because you can win wine by listening to this episode, listening to our episodes.
But how do they sign up then, Dan?
So if you go to, I can't remember the website. And if you go, we've actually got a short link for this. So it's lowercase bit.ly/the-Friday-club. That's bit.ly/the-Friday-club. You'll go straight to the sign up
for
page.
viewers. I'm sure that Pat the podcast editor will put that on the screen.
Yeah.
Thank you, Pat the podcast editor. Here.
Yeah. So what we do each week in the Friday Club is, at the end of the email, we share a link to our latest Business Anchors episode, these episodes, and we say, go and listen to the episode and answer this question. And then those people who answer the question go into a random draw, and then one of them wins a bottle of wine every week. Mm-hmm. So if you're listening to this every week, you may as well sign up to the Friday Club because you can win a bottle of wine. Also, a bit of inside info, barely anyone enters. So this guy called Jeremy basically wins every week because he's the only one that enters.
Yes, Jeremy.
There is more people than him and
Get
that
that wine.
But some weeks, like 1 or 2 people enter. So other weeks it's like 10 or 15. But yeah, if you're listening to it, you've already got the answers to the question that enters you to win wine. So go and bloody sign up to it.
Yeah, that's a good point. If you know you listen to this every week, sign up to the email because you're probably going to win wine.
In terms of how you can apply that, try and think about how you can provide value to your readers. Could you give something away every week? Could you feature some of your subscribers in the email or provide them value somehow? Think what's in it for them.
I think that helps a lot of people, especially if people have smaller audiences online or have a smaller business or a business earlier in their journey. A shout out to say, this person did this really good thing can be really useful. Yeah, and it's a double whammy because say we find someone that's doing good stuff. So we're like, this would provide value to our listeners, but also they are a listener.
Yeah, double whammy.
Whammy.
Exactly. And the final tip, and I think this is potentially the most important tip for writing your emails, don't make it look like a marketing email. I remember previously, I've tried launching previous email newsletters before the Friday Club, and I used to format them so that they had used a template and there was all images in between them, and it looked like a really posh marketing email, but no one read them or opened them because it looked like a marketing email. People don't want marketing emails in their inbox because they're blind to advertising and marketing. They want something useful that looks like it's written from their mate or from a human being if you're more corporate.
That's why anything with the word newsletter in it, immediately you're like, this is a business who's putting stuff in this to try and sell to me. Why would you open that?
Yeah. So don't call it your business and then newsletter. Sign up to our newsletter.
Even if you're creative with a name and then say newsletter, it's still like, they've thought of a name, but it's still this thing that's going to try and sell to me.
Yeah. And I think they're my main tips. I can't emphasize enough the power of, I know like people think email's dead and everything's social media and stuff. I think the ability to directly within seconds get into someone's phone, like their inbox, is incredibly powerful. And I see when we send these emails on the Friday morning, within seconds, we've had, 20, 30, 40 people open and read that email within seconds of sending it. How, what other platform can you instantly get to your ideal customers?
Email is still very much alive.
It is.
According to Dan Knowlton. So,
and thanks for your amazing input in this episode, Lloyd.
That's all right. I think I just said my 5th sentence of the episode.
No, but I think this is something that I write weekly and I do, so it's pretty more relevant for me to talk about.
We are very honest here. I don't want to. Me and Dan like talk about this. If one of us doesn't know much about stuff, we're not going to pretend to say that.
That would be the worst podcast ever.
So I'm not an expert in email marketing. Dan has been doing it for years and very much is. So I'll happily, for once, stay quiet and stay in my little box over here.
This is probably going to be the best episode ever.
Probably. But just to make sure it is, can you remind me of that link where I can subscribe to the Friday Club?
Sure I can, Lloyd.
Thanks.
So if you want to sign up to the Friday Club, just type in this email, bit.ly/the-Friday-club, all lowercase. It's also, if you go to our website, on the services tab, there's a link there, the Knowlton Marketing website.
Thanks, Dan. I'll make sure I do that straight away so I don't forget. If I'm driving, I'll pull over to be safe and do it.
Oh, you have to make this episode sound like an advert. I love it. That was your radio voice. It hasn't come out in a while.
I had to have an input to the episode, didn't I? Even if it's a shit one.
Not
the episode, sorry. I just realised that's not what I meant. My input is shit.
Okay, yeah. I agree. Your input
that sounded
is
like
shit.
I was being harsh. Then
so next week, you'll probably get a chance to hear Lloyd speak more because it'll probably be something more relevant to
Interesting, yeah.
On that note, bye.
Thanks for listening. See you later, anchors. Bye for now.